first grade, I remember taking trips to the library daily with my elementary school class for story time. After story time wrapped up, we were allowed to pick a book to take home for the night. I remember vividly one of the largest books in size and the most fought over was the book about the Titanic. This book had pictures of the Titanic before and after it sank, showing its luxurious rooms and fixtures, followed by its current decayed state at the bottom of the ocean. I, like many other of my classmates, couldn't quite wrap my head around what it must have been like on that ship and how horrific it would have been to experience its tragic demise like over 1,000 of its deceased passengers went through. Then a few years later, the hit movie Titanic, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet, came to theaters, becoming one of the most famous motion pictures of all time. In the mid-90s, everyone in the world had a renewed interest in the Titanic, and a new generation was fascinated. Though I obviously didn't explore this amazing abandonment myself like I always do in these documentaries, I felt obligated to do my own piece on it due to it being my first fascination with abandonment. I didn't even realize it until a few days ago, but subliminally the Titanic is probably why I have a love for exploring abandonment. I'm willing to bet that it had the same effect on many other urban explorers as well. Even though I've never stepped foot on the Titanic, I figured it would be fun to at least dig into the amazing history and up-to-date footage of the wreckage that the internet has to offer, because every year more and more artifacts and new discoveries are uncovered. Let's start with the history of the Titanic before the unsinkable ship reached the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. RMS Titanic was a British passenger liner operated by the White Star Line, which sank in the North Atlantic Ocean on April 15, 1912, after striking an iceberg during her maiden voyage from Southampton, UK to New York City. Of the estimated 2,224 passengers and crew aboard, more than 1,500 died, which made the sinking possibly one of the deadliest for a single ship at that time. The disaster drew much public attention, provided foundational material for the disaster film genre, and has inspired many artistic works. Titanic was built by Hartland and Wolff and was the largest ship in the world at that time. Captain Edward Smith, who went down with his passengers, believed the ship was unsinkable. Some of the wealthiest people in the world were amongst the passengers on the Titanic, but there were also hundreds of immigrants from Great Britain, Ireland, Scandinavia, and elsewhere throughout Europe, who were seeking a new life in the United States. The Titanic had advanced safety features such as watertight compartments and remotely activated watertight doors. The ship was equipped with 16 lifeboat davits, each of which were capable of lowering 3 lifeboats, for a total of 48 lifeboats. Only 20 lifeboats, 4 of which were collapsible, and proved hard to launch while the ship was sinking. Together, the 20 lifeboats were capable of holding 1,178 people, which was only about half the number of passengers on board, and only 1/3 of the number of passengers that the ship could have carried at full capacity. So how big was the Titanic? Titanic was 882 feet 9 inches long, with a maximum breadth of 92 feet 6 inches. Her total height, measured from the base of the keel to the top of the bridge, was 104 feet. She measured 46,328 gross registered tons, and with a draught of 34 feet 7 inches, she displaced 52,310 tons. So what happened? Titanic had departed from Southampton on April 10, 1912, then stopped in France, then Ireland, before heading west to New York. On April 14th, 4 days into the crossing and about 375 miles south of Newfoundland, she hit an iceberg at 11:40 p.m. ship's time. The collision caused the hull plates to buckle inward along her starboard side, and laid 5 of her 16 watertight compartments open to the sea. She had been designed to survive the flooding of 4 compartments. Some passengers and crew members were evacuated in lifeboats, many of which were launched only partially loaded. A disproportionate number of men were left aboard because of a women and children first protocol for loading lifeboats. At 2:20 a.m., the ship broke apart and foundered, with well over 1,000 people still aboard. The wreck of Titanic was discovered in 1985 by Franco-American expedition sponsored by the United States Navy. The final survivor of the sinking, Melvina Dean, who was only 2 months old at the time, died in 2009 at the age of 97. So now that we know a bit of the history of the Titanic and what happened on that tragic frigid night, let's check out some footage of what the Titanic looks like now. There's no question that the story of the Titanic is fascinating and will continue to fascinate generations to come. Thank you for watching.
Check it out, man. I mean, this merch is like really sick. Check me out, bro.